Live streaming is on.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, depending on the time of the day you're watching this. Let me check with YouTube as usual because, I don't trust YouTube. Because sometimes it says you're connected and you're not, and you're speaking like an idiot for like 15 minutes until you realize. Okay, we're in. Again, good morning, good afternoon, good night, depending on the time you're watching this. We are time traveling right now, believe it or not. I am in Spain at 5, and my friend on the other side, it's at 10 a.m. in America. So, first of all, my public service announcement of the day in my usual polite way. Wear your fucking mask. Okay? Wear your fucking mask. If you're an idiot and you want to commit suicide, I don't care. You're an idiot. It's your problem. Die, like the Romans. But I care about the other people that you can get killed. I care about your girlfriend or boyfriend, your family, your kids, your elders, your grandfather that you love so much. Anybody, even your closest friend, you haven't seen in months, suddenly you see him or her without a mask because you're an idiot and you get him or her killed. That I worry about it a lot more. So please don't be an idiot. Don't kill people. Don't be an asshole. Wear your mask. And if you believe, sorry, I always repeat, if you believe that you are the strongest man or women, like muscle, I don't need a mask because I'm immortal, and you don't care about the other people, leave this channel now. I don't want you here. That's it. So after that, polite and fine idiots, how are you, Terry? How are you, my friend?
I'm good, and I do wear a mask.
Yes, I know. I believe that wholeheartedly. How's things in your neck of the woods? How's life? How's everything? Is the situation getting better? Not at all. You're too busy to even realize.
I live like a hermit, so I just stay in the studio. So my usual routine is to stay in the studio and only go out to the post office once a day. So me personally, I'm not. My routine hasn't changed too much, except that I've been able to get a lot more work done because now we're not going to conventions.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have to take 4 days every 2 weeks to go to another show. I just stay home and work. So I'm just making the books on the drawing table.
Traditional guy, as you can see.
Yeah.
Is there, in that sense, have you noticed that you are overworking? And I don't mean because you don't have to be at conventions, which of course allows you to work more uninterrupted in a way. It's also about some people I've talked to have told me, one or two choices. One is for the first couple of months, at the end of the day, they realize they have work more because since they're at home, they lose track of time and they check like, shit, I've done, like 2 more panels or 2 more pages more than usual. How has it been for you?
For me, the work has always been my escape. So when life is shit, I escape into my art. And so, I've seen that on online social media. They'll say, I just can't focus to work. But for me, it's the other way around. It's like, if life beats me up, I go crawl over to my drawing board and just draw and get lost there. And that's my therapy. That's my self-medication. So yeah, I've had no trouble working because I need the escape.
No, in a way, it's really interesting because that means that you can. We always talk about art being an abstraction of life. But in this case, for you, it's even more. You get your abstraction exactly from doing the work. You get separated from the reality to live in your own world, right?
Yeah, and that's actually that always attracted me to comics anyway. The reason I liked comics,
yeah,
and it was more fun to be in your cartoon world than it was to be in real world, where maybe in real life, you might be a loser with people making fun of you every day and it's wearing you down. So you go make your comics and things can play out and this time you can win. Somebody you care about in the comics can win. And so that's, it's just a great escape. I've always kind of thought that the difference between amateurs and pros is that an amateur draws when they want to, when
Mhm.
they're inspired. A pro draws every day, whether he feels like it or not, Um, and after a lifetime of that, it's what works for you biologically. You know, if,
Yeah.
if I didn't draw every day, it would be like a fit person no longer working out. And suddenly they would be all out of mess. They wouldn't feel like themselves.
Yeah, because all your physical and brain muscles, especially your brain muscles, are, as you said, the guy that works out or somebody like that. Uh, your brain muscles are all adjusted to go there. Like, I'm sick of the world. I'm going to explode. I'm going to go into my work. Understand that work can help you work things out from real life, because you are in your own space, and subconsciously, when you're done with the work, you have solved the problem that you had in real life, right?
Yeah, you have. I mean, you've worked it out. It's like going to the therapist, and the therapist says, "Talk it out." Well, I did. I talked it out. I drew it out, and I changed the scene several times and changed the responses and looked at all the options. And I mean, I'm done with it when I get up. I
Of
mean,
course.
that one's fixed. So it does. When you do it for a long time as a lifestyle, it changes the wiring in your brain.
Uh-huh.
Um, where like everything that people say triggers me as a writer to finish the conversation. So I may talk back to the TV or talk, I finish these conversations, and my wife says to me all the time, she says, I'll be over there ranting, and she's saying, Terry, you're having a conversation that's not in the room. And it's the same part of me that writes, like
Yeah.
I can write an argument on the spur of the moment, and I can do it, in any room. So it's a good thing that I acting.
Well, to be honest, I also rant at the TV. A politician or something like that. That's a lie, you motherfucker. And my wife is like this. Like, even a snack or whatever, having it, she's like, "What are you doing?"
Well,
No,
and
I did nothing. And she's like, "No, you did. You just ranted at the TV." And I'm like, "Oh, I did. Yes, you did." It's like, okay.
yeah. And when you start thinking about right now is when the military helicopters come down and then the sun explodes and all, now you're ready for comics.
Yes, exactly. Is there anything that you miss like crazy? Like, I'm your Dr. Frankenstein, come with the vaccine, give you the shot, tell you everything is fine, we're done, vaccinated, let's go out. What's the thing you miss the most?
There are certain travel places that I like a lot and I miss them. I usually go there once a year. So I have a little bit of travel fever in that sense. Like there's a nice place in Florida where we go and we sit in a little cottage and just stare at the water. And once a year, that's very good for us to get away from the stress. Um, I miss a couple of spots that we, used to go to fans because when we travel every year, there's always this group of people you see at each city and you get used to them. And after, years, you really like them and you really miss them and they make your day fun. They make the weekend fun.
Yeah.
And they're funny people. They're very bright. They're there because they want to. So the atmosphere is good, at the convention. So I miss that. I miss my friendships. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. On a daily basis, like living at home and working in the studio, I'm okay. But it was nice to get out once a month and go see people. I don't know if I'm ever going to trust being close, standing next to people again. I mean, my COVID habits are so strong now.
Hmm.
Every time I get near a stranger, I think, get the fuck away from me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But so I don't know how it would be for me at a con.
Yeah. The fear has set fear or panic or paranoia, whatever you want to call it right now, because we can call it. It's a bit of all of them. I think. I think it has settled in, and in a way, even if we are vaccinated, it'll take a good while, or even forever. John Bogdanov, the artist, was telling me when we have this chat that he was afraid that as Spaniards we're going to change. We are very huggy and very personal, and we are group people. Like really group people. We like to stay out and stay in the terraces. Having a beer or coffee or anything, just chatting. Like
Yeah.
I'm afraid it's going to change because of COVID. And I was like, yeah, I don't think so. We are the other way around. It's going to reinforce it. And it's like, what do you mean? Like, imagine telling us you have to stay away with the way we are wired for 3 months, 6 months, and then telling you can hug your friends. We're just going to hug and become fucking teddy bears.
Yeah.
So for us, it's going to be the opposite. But I understand that. Several creators have told me about that. Like, I don't know if you're going to feel safe having a fan or somebody else closer than 6 feet away.
Yeah. When I think of all the times I've stood at the table at a show and somebody is talking to me and they're talking loud because it's loud and their spit is flying out of
Yeah.
their mouth and it'll hit me on the face and I wipe it off. And I'm kind of like this spit shield, as people are talking. I remember all that now. But you know what? You're right. When it's over, I think we will be so upbeat and there will be this joy.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of the guys who work in submarines.
Mm-hmm.
To go into a submarine and go down, they replace the oxygen with a hydrogen mixture, and I think it's hydrogen. And is it? Yeah, I think it's hydrogen. And when they said they're breathing,
I hope it's not nitrogen.
I was trying to think: is it hydrogen or helium? It can't be helium because that's poison.
Somebody who's looking, check.
What is it?
Let us know.
Yes, thank you. One of those things. Anyway, your oxygen level is brought way down, and that's why the atmosphere inside the submarine is around like 12,000 to 16,000 feet above sea level.
Yeah.
So to work on a submarine, you have to be super fit. And anyway, when they told me, I took a tour once, and they said after they've been down there a couple of weeks, when they come back up, they slowly replace the oxygen.
Yeah.
And when they get to the surface, they said it's this tremendous feeling of well-being and just happiness. And it's just like the greatest feeling in the world to come back up. And I feel like it'll be that way after COVID. We will come back up and get oxygen and we can breathe again and hug. And, I mean, we're just going to, I think it'll be the happiest year of our lives.
Yeah.
I hope.
It'll take a bit, of course, as you just said, the fear, paranoia, and it makes perfect sense that people think, I am not sure if this vaccine works, blah blah blah. So probably 1 month, 2 months, something is going to be people is going to be keeping distances same way, and of course there's going to be more masks, and I think that's going to be forever. With people immunodepressed, etc. Even with the vaccine, they are not going to trust it. But after that month or 2 months, as you just said, we're just going to explode. Somebody's going to be the first one, and probably me or somebody close to me is going to be the first one, saying, fuck it, I don't want to live this life like this forever. I have just one life. So sooner or later, we just have to hug people.
Yeah. And I see that more and more here. People are just getting tired of it. Nothing's gotten better. I mean, safer, but they're just tired of it and they just go, they have their meetings and their friends and they go to lunch and they just take the chance now.
They should wait a bit. But anyway, but whatever they do, wear a mask. Don't be an idiot. Anyway, we were saying, do you remember the last time you went to the theater to watch a movie before this started?
I can't remember. I went last year and I don't remember what it was. No, I'm going to say no, I don't.
It's because I am asking this question because it's happening to a lot of people, including myself, because Shaking was really clever and asked me back saying, and you? And nobody remembers it. 99% of the people, it's like, it's like we've moved to another phase or another universe. Even people who went to the theater in March go blank face, and they're like, how can't I remember? It wasn't much.
I had no idea.
And it's happening to everybody. We just don't remember because it's a different phase. It's like everything. So many things have happened during the last 4 months that it's like it's there.
Well, and it's not even the last 4 months. It's all year. I mean,
Yeah.
when I went to a movie theater last time, it was last year. And I've worked really hard to get to the point where I always think of, well, that's my office phone spam. No. I worked hard to get to the point where I only think about this year because whatever book I put out last year is over. So I try not to live off what I did last year. It's always about what I'm doing this year. So last year is history. And the last time I went to a movie was ancient history.
Okay, then you have an excuse. You have an excuse because it was last year. It was a real different universe. But for many people, as I said, that's happening. Even 3-4 months ago seems like a different life.
Yeah.
Which is weird and explanatory at the same time. It says a lot about what's been going on in our brains. We can't adjust to this. Even when people say, I keep hearing about, the Americans have a better time than us Europeans because they are more individualistic and we are more, groupal. No, we're fucking humans.
Yeah, humans. Yeah.
We're humans, and humans are societal. We need to be in a group.
I miss the contact, the friendships, the warm moments. And if there's somebody I'm crazy about and I love them, even a friend who says something clever, I hug them.
Yeah.
I mean, you just need the contact. I mean, it's humanity.
Yeah. And that's something also that I've realized when people tell me about what they miss. They tell me, I don't miss the conventions, but I miss the people that I see them. Or especially everybody tells me about, that dinner that you go in that convention when you go, with the usual suspects. But suddenly you see somebody that you didn't expect to see.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's also the best. And then you're sitting down in the table with that person you didn't expect to see, that you haven't seen in 3 years to say something. And you spend 4 hours talking like the last time you met was yesterday.
Yeah.
The unexpected dinners, in cons where you can see your friends. That's the part I miss the most. Is that the same for you?
Yeah, it is. For me, it's all about the people. Like, for instance, I don't like just walking around a city, just, look at that, look at that. I like it when we sit and have lunch and talk and have a memory.
Mm-hmm.
That's me. So I'm all about the people.
No, I agree. We were talking to our daughter the other day. She's 6 and she has an extraordinary memory. So we were showing her pictures of the first time we took her to Disneyland Paris. I think she was 2 years old, and we thought she would remember, the attractions, and she was like, "No, that's the restaurant where I met the princesses, and they signed my book and all that." And she was focusing on as you said, in the interactions.
Yes.
Not in the I went in the carousel or I went to the Star Wars thing. Like, see, it's the Star Wars the Star Tours, and she wasn't thinking about the Star Tours and how fun it was. She was telling me that's where I met the robot.
Yeah.
And for me, that's the same thing. It's like, so her emotional memories are about the people, which is something I love.
And for an adult, I can't think of how many times I've been in the San Diego airport. I don't care a flip about the San Diego airport, but I'll never forget the day I met Jeff Beck there and shook his hand.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my Disneyland memory.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a bad one. Why in the world you masochistic person decided that of all the chances you had in life, like, okay, I'm going to do comics. This is going to be my life. Why did you decide that?
It was very deliberate to do that. I started out life as a musician, and then I thought, I'm not going to be able to make a good enough living. It's a hard life, not good for family. So I moved to TV editing, and I did that for about 10 years. And then I realized I don't like to work with a big committee. I really wanted to make my own stories. And they said, well, then why don't you move on to directing, become a film director or video director? But the problem is, as a director, you have to talk a lot of people into it, and it's still working by committee.
Yes.
So I thought, what can I do? And then that's when I discovered graphic novels and this self-publishing movement, Jeff Smith, Dave Sim, all that. I never saw a place for myself in comics by reading DC Marvel comics. But when the indie comics started, I saw that America was trying to do their own version of what had been going on in Europe forever, which is individual artists telling stories. You know, well, that was kind of a new thing for America back in the 90s. So I thought, there's my chance. I'm going to try it, and here I am.
So it was not only about doing comics, but it was also like a path to creative independence.
Yes,
so it was all on the same package.
Yeah, because I had spent 10 years or more working with advertising agencies and watching the checks and balance of group dynamics. Let's all vote on whether this should be red or blue. And, that's not the way I like to work. I'm more like a painter, where like I grab the red and then I throw it at the canvas and decide if that works. So I was looking for a more personal creative outlet, and I would have just started writing novels, except that I knew how to draw, and I thought, maybe I can draw this story and do these comics. The reason is because I did check it out in the book world, in the novel world. Those writers were working for these tiny percentages, and you still had to convince one person in New York at a desk who's very busy that they should be your agent, and I mean, so it's a mess. But if I wanted to do an indie comic, I could draw it myself on my kitchen table, get it printed myself, take it to shows myself, and sell it myself. I didn't have to talk anybody in a suit into working with me. I could just do it. I love that.
Yeah, you become the producer, director, DP, etc., etc. You have no budget limitations. You don't have to talk to a producer or an agent in this case, or somebody who tells you, no, do it that way, or we are going to do it because the market demands that. This phrase. That's the market. That's what the market wants. Like, no, it's not. But
Right.
Since he says or she says that's what the market wants, you have to do it, even if you hate it. So for you, it became a way to be able to express. I was going to say in a free way, of course, in a free way, but also express what other people would have told you couldn't do, right?
Right, like the very first story, Strangers in Paradise. I wanted to read that story and I couldn't find it anywhere. People weren't making that story, and so I started writing it just so I could read it and hope that it would find an audience. And it did. It found a little cult audience that kind of carried it, kept it going. So I think that people who have a very strong drive to get something made that's in their head, whether it's a comic or it's a book of poetry or a song. I think if they follow their motivation, you get to the point where you're unstoppable, and you're very motivated.
Yeah.
And if you let everybody know what you're trying to do, it's amazing how many people will help you. Oh, Terry is doing a comic, and I know somebody over here that's already doing them. Here, Terry, meet so and so, and people pass you along. You get a lot of help along the way that you didn't picture before you started. So there's a wonderful group dynamic of, this one wants to be a writer. Let's move them up here to the writer pool. There's a lot of help that I didn't expect, and I was grateful for.
Yeah, that's another part that people doesn't realize, and I keep repeating. And probably the main reason I'm doing this show, which is comics people are 99.9% amazing people.
Yeah.
They're good people. It's you gotta be to survive in this medium, because if you do this to become rich, no. If you do this to become so popular, more popular than Prince, no. If you do this, the main reason to do comics is because we love comics, right?
Yeah.
And we love the people who does comics.
This is one of the reasons I really loved being in comics. The first thing I noticed at a comic show was that the vibe in the room was so good because everybody was there because they wanted to be there, right? It's the opposite of a business convention,
Yeah, the dentist convention.
Yeah, like say you sell tires for a living and you have to go to the tire convention, that kind of thing. Actually, tires can be very cool if you're into racing, but
No, but I was telling about the dentist convention. I don't know if you
the
know this.
dentist convention, yeah.
The anecdote is because, or odontologist, whatever you want to call it, because the two biggest conventions in San Diego every year are San Diego Comic-Con and a dentist convention.
Well,
you can't
here's
imagine.
what I do know, that dentists in America have the highest suicide rate. So
Okay.
it can't be
I wasn't
that
going
fun
in
at the
that direction. I
convention.
was saying you can't imagine how different it can be one convention from the other. Dentists talking about new pieces and blah blah blah, and us in San Diego Comic Con at the Hyatt. Where's my drink?
Yeah, I like my convention because then we talk about, okay, so if Superman is flying at Mach 3, how hot do his fingertips get? That's more interesting than your inlay.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, no, I don't agree with you. The Flash is faster. It's like,
Yeah.
this is what we're talking about. Yeah, well, whatever. Get a beer. Let's talk about Speedy Gonzalez. The Flash, Superman, and we see Sonic the Hedgehog. They have to decide here and now who is the fastest of them all. And I've had this conversation in the bar at the Hyatt, so it can get that crazy.
Yes, it can.
Which is the part of the well, let me express it another way. Sorry, I was being confusing. When you start crafting a story, thinking about a story, you think about the journey or the destination. I mean, the emotional part, the emotional bits are more important for you, or the finish. If you know what I mean. Like, I know how it ends, I have to get there, and that's the main point. Or it's like, okay, I don't care exactly how it's gonna develop if I get my emotional beats and what I want to tell about these people's lives.
It's a balance. When I start, I have a destination, and then but it becomes a road trip. I mean, you think, okay, my goal today is to get to there. So you get started, and then crap happens, right? And that's how it is when I work. I think, okay, today I'm going to have my character wake up in a field, and then she turns around and, oh boy. So the whole point was to draw a character in a field, and then surprise, there's this 100-foot snake. And maybe I don't even realize I'm going to draw that snake until I get halfway through that page. And that's the fun of it. It is a little bit like the painter. I throw red up there and I look at it, and then I think, it'd be really good up there is a 100-foot snake. You throw that up there.
Yeah.
And, so that's the fun of it. It's not super disciplined, plan it out yesterday, execute today, because that last minute, you're always trying to think what would make it better.
Yes.
And the more of it you can see on the paper, the easier it is to see how to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
And you're always improving. And I feel like sometimes every idea I ever have is a trope. It's common. I've seen it before. And then the trick is, but what if I do this?
Yeah.
And that's how we stand on the shoulders of the giants who came before us, which we all readily say. But what that means is I took ideas from 3 great people. We've all read that book. And then you make a new recipe. And it's just like being in the kitchen. Somebody lays out all the food on the counter and says, what could you make out of that? Every one of those, that's an apple trope, an orange trope, a lemon trope. There's some cinnamon. What would you do? And you make something brand new.
Yeah, because everybody, everything has been invented. That's a saying. Another saying is that everybody and their mom can have an idea. The ideas are not important. The important is that to sit down and work on them until you make them yours, until you give them your own perspective, your own life experience that you imbue into your pages, right?
Yeah, it's what it's a trope is an elephant. An elephant is an elephant. Okay, so let's say that's the trope. Whatever the story is, it's now an elephant. But you can have three different people look at it three different ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
If there's an old I think an old fable about three blind men inspecting an elephant, and one is at the front with the trunk, one's on the side feeling the big thing, and one's at the back with the little tail. And so they have, if you ask them to describe the animal, they have three completely different descriptions. And that's how it is. If I look at say Jack Kirby's Exploding Universe with all the black dots,
yeah,
maybe he drew black dots because he was getting cataracts. I don't know. Maybe that's just how he saw it. But maybe I see it a different way. If I come over here and look at what is making the black dots, has anybody ever gone back on the other side of a Kirby explosion and see what's coming, where it's coming from? That kind of thing is what you look for, the new perspective.
Yeah, but by the end of the day, that's what we were saying. So I see you are more about the journey than about the destination, because the journey can change things. The journey can inform you about, I want to get to that finish, but maybe not the way I thought I was going to get there, right?
Yeah, well, here's the difference. If I tell you a little boy went to school, there's your destination. Who do you care?
Yeah.
Okay. If I tell you the little boy was carrying a lunch that his mom made, and his mom has cancer, and she puts I love you note every morning in that lunch, and because she doesn't know how much longer she has. And he walks down the block on the way to school, and some bigger kids come along and bully him, and they take the lunch and they throw it down into the sewer. And he arrives at school and he has a black eye and no lunch, and he's crying.
Mm-hmm.
Do you care now about the boy and his mom? Do you want to know how that turns out?
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. The more you know, the more you care. So you can either just go to school, or you can stop and get to know the people, mm-hmm. and get involved in their lives and become part of it. And that's where the story is.
And that's important. There's something that I keep repeating about, mostly about mainstream comics, that is like we've lost, with all the pacing and everything that has to be put into a single comic every month, and in a superhero comic in this case, we've lost the value of silence in comics. And I keep saying there's nothing more valuable than, as you were saying, using your example, just showing the kid's face with the black eye getting into school with no words. That moment for people to reflect on what happened. How important do you think that the use of silence is in comics to portray emotions?
It's very important, because that's where you fill the gap in. I think a good story allows you to be shoulder to shoulder with the character. And the silence is where you get a chance to think about it and think about what you would say or what you would do. And it's very, very important, because it also, the silence is, there's always a subtext to the story. There's two stories all the time. There's the story of the characters in front of you, the little boy, and he's walking, he's on the street. And then in the background, the subtext is the love of a mother and wanting her son to be good. And they're always there. Everything that happens to the boy has the subtext of the mother's love, and we care about it. So when there's silence, the subtext comes up, and now you're reading things like intentions, fears. The internal stories come out. That's when the internal stuff. Sometimes the mouth is a liar, and it's masking what you really feel inside.
Yeah.
So when the mouth stops working, it's easier sometimes to see what are they really going through. And now we're watching your eyes, your expressions, your body language, and it's just as important as anything you're going to say, because your body language, is going to be more truthful.
Yeah. This maybe this is going to sound weird, but do your characters argue back at you, saying, this is my arc, this is my first arc, then have second arc, third arc, you get to the second arc, and then suddenly your character say, that's not me, that's not what I would do, stop, change it, correct it. I don't mean it literally, because of course they're in your head, but you know what I mean. Do they tell you to correct course because you're understanding them wrong, what they would do?
Yeah, and the way they do it is like a dog. They sit down and there's no progress made. That's their protest. Their silent protest is they can't be moved. And so I will be on a page, and suddenly I don't feel connected to it anymore. And I realize I've been drawing this one panel for 2 hours, erasing, draw, erase. And I'm thinking, well, that isn't working at all. I'm no longer feel like I'm going in the right direction. And I'm doing the wrong thing is why. So I will put the page aside, and I come back the next day and I go, oh, no, we're going to do this. I was going in the wrong direction. And it happens to me a lot. It happens at least once a book. And suddenly progress stops. And I'm thinking, why? What am I doing? And maybe I'm going too close to predictability, and that's not good enough, because you guys have read everything I've read. You've seen everything I've seen. You've heard everything I've heard. So if I start doing anything predictable, I lose your attention.
Yes.
And you begin to speed read until you get to something that's new and fresh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So my job is every page is to have something fresh every page. The character needs to say something you've never heard. I need to show you a visual you've never seen. Something needs to be fresh about this. I can't have seven pages of a couple having a typical relationship argument in a living room, because I will bore you to tears. What I need to have happen there is on page 2, the wife suddenly says, oh, by the way, I'm a serial killer. So if you don't agree with me anymore, I'm going to take your fucking head off. Now I have your attention.
Yeah.
So, I'm thinking like that.
No, but it's normal, because there's a lot of choices in the market, and you have to, the moment you lose the reader's attention, it's very difficult to get it back. People expect certain things of you. So if you become predictable, it's like, okay, Terry's repeating himself. Why would I keep reading if I already know? It's like, imagine Clint Eastwood always did, Dirty Harry. Also with the Westerns, he kept doing Westerns, but he changed with his age. He was changing things until he got to Unforgiven. He wasn't always the same kind. He evolved with time to tell a new story. So I think it's the same way with you. They want what they know. We want what we know, but we don't want to read what you have already told us.
Yeah, a good example of that is when you surprised me at the beginning. Okay, we've all been to the movies, and then you told me everybody you've asked doesn't remember their last movie. That's a shock. So talking about movies as a trope, you telling me something new about it was amazing.
Yeah.
That's how you do it, So we're going in the comic and we're saying, okay, so-and-so needs to walk out on the street and catch a taxi. They did not expect for uh, Sputnik to fall onto the street. You know, now
Yeah.
I'm paying attention.
Yeah.
But if you just get in the taxi, ride in the taxi, go to work, have a boring day, come home, pet the cat, go to sleep, you know, and some people write like that. They're very practical, you know. Novelists can tend to write that way, where they're just capturing the mundane routine of life. You know, they will spend 300 pages describing your grandma's furniture. You know,
Yeah.
well, I guess you get to do that as a novelist, but I can't do that as a comic book artist. I have to, the way, there's a new type of storytelling. The new way to still tell stories right now is to work very quickly
Yeah.
because everybody is on the same page. We've all seen so much this year in this last 5 years of media. We're binge watching, we're binge reading, we're
Yeah.
taking all these stories in so fast. So a good example is like the new Watchmen limited TV series. It's very, very good and it moves very fast. And it makes the book look old fashioned and slow. There's two totally different storytellings there. The
Yeah.
book was written with much slower pacing and all that. The TV series is bam, 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 and every scene has what the.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different type of storytelling. It's very updated, you know.
No, and
And
also Lindelof said that he did that in purpose. He wanted to be as different as possible. He didn't want to do the book. He wanted to do the future, and he wanted to do a different kind of storytelling because, and believe it or not, it was out of respect for the book. It's like I don't want to do what they did. I want to do a completely different thing, so they stand as separate. So nobody thinks I'm doing that Watchmen because
yeah,
of how much he respects it. And I think it worked exactly because he made it different. You watch his preview show, The Leftovers?
yes,
His Leftovers much slower. So
yes.
he could have gone that way and keep that slower and more analytical pace in Watchmen. But he purposely decided I want to make it different so people doesn't compare, right?
I think it's very contemporary. I think it's very modern storytelling now. Like for instance, Leftovers was much slower, and there was to me The Leftovers was a journey without a destination.
Yes.
It was if the writer gave you these wonderful. You got two or three magical moments each episode, like with the deer, the bucks in the kitchen, or something like that. There were these wonderful mystical things happening, but there was no point, and there never seemed to be a point to the story. It was like the writer had no real faith in anything, so
Yeah.
he didn't know where to go with it. All he was doing was observing misty fields, but he didn't know what they meant.
I have a theory about that. That this is just me. You're gonna laugh. Like since he didn't have the control in Lost because he was a newbie and it was other people, and he's openly said in interviews that originally Lost was supposed to be only 3 seasons, but ABC or Fox, whatever, whoever had it, I remember which channel was. They said no, it has to be a minimum of 5 or something like that. So they have to create a lot of crap just to fill it, and they couldn't do what they wanted, which is leave it unfinished, not answer the questions.
Mhm.
So I'm pretty sure that when he was in full control of Leftovers, as an exercise, he said, "Now I'm able to do it. I don't want to answer all the questions." So that's my theory about the Leftovers. Maybe it doesn't make sense, but I think that's him, saying now I can do what I wanted to do in Lost that they didn't allow me to do.
I think that's probably right. I think yeah, that makes sense. America hates that. We want answers. We want resolution. Like for instance, The Sopranos.
Yes.
You know.
I love. I'm sorry. That's my favorite finale ever.
Okay, I have rewritten the ending. They're sitting in they're sitting in the diner, and it's all quiet. And his wife pulls out a gun and shoots him because she had the contract all along. That's my ending. Instead of just leaving them there, they cut 20 seconds too soon. And it was supposed to be Tony gets whacked, but they didn't let us see that. And it's like spoiled. It's like we didn't even get to see him fall off a building. At least push him and let us watch him start free falling.
Yeah, some friends have told me that they would have loved exactly the way it is, but just hearing a thud, like bump, somebody falling on the floor. It's like I don't need them to show me, Tony gets shot, but I want to hear the sound of him falling on the floor.
Well, the one familiar voice behind him, Tony, and he looks cut. And it's the guy who kills everybody.
Yeah, but that's too obvious.
It needs to be that guy.
No, but that's too obvious. I prefer just the thud, the sound of somebody falling on the floor.
But it's supposed to be Tony who falls, not somebody else.
Maybe.
You got to get rid of Tony, man.
No,
Tony's going down.
I still remember when everybody was hating that ending, and I was saying, I love it. I just love it. Like that they have the balls to just go that way and leave it open. And for our imagination, we all know Tony's getting whacked. We all know it. We don't need to see it. So David Simon was probably saying, we know it. You know it. I don't need to show it to you.
Okay.
Go home.
Then give me this. He's just sitting there, with his coffee or tea or whatever. And she is sitting there and she's got her hand on the gun in her purse and she's trying to get the nerve to pull it out. Cut there.
Nah, too obvious. Too obvious. Now, I don't need to be told. I'm sorry. I just watching it like this is perfect. I don't need to be told. I know he's going to get whacked, and he's telling us, you know it. I'm not going to show it to you. Boom. I just love it. I understand how it's frustrating for a lot of people.
And you know what we're doing? We're doing creative by committee.
Yeah. Wait. Let me open this.
This is why I'm an indie cartoonist.
Yeah, no. Let's move on. Any other? Let's just go that kind of worms. What's your most hated TV show finale ever?
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld.
Yeah, they just end up in jail, and they all look like they're bad people. We didn't get to end with them being fun and likable. Mm-hmm. They ended up being very unlikable in the last episode on purpose.
I think that's what they wanted.
They got it. It left a bad taste in everybody's mouth.
Okay. Mine is Lost.
Yeah.
Or Dexter. I'm not sure which one of them.
Yeah, but everybody hated Dexter.
Yeah, the finale. And my favorite finale is probably The Shield.
What was the ending on that?
Well, no, I'm not going to spoil it. But
okay, I don't know it.
Have you watched the show?
No.
Okay, so no, and then it's a really good show, and the ending is one of those when you say it completely, absolutely fits with the narrative of the story they were telling. Breaking Bad is also a really good finale.
Yeah, it is. That's very appropriate. Yeah, that was a good one. My favorite was the second Bob Newhart show. Bob Newhart was a comedian, and he had a show that ran for 8 years. And then he started another show, and it ran for 8 years. And it was, there was a lifestyle there, and there was a lifestyle there. At the end of the second show, everything goes crazy, and then he wakes up like it's from a bad dream, and he's in bed, and the wife next to him is the wife from the first show. And the entire second series was a dream.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, we all just went crazy.
I love that. Like in this, if he did that in this day and age with the internet, he could get killed. Because people couldn't get it. Let's be honest. But I love that. I love he had the balls to do that. Let's go back to comics. What is, in your opinion, what makes the comics language unique or different compared to any other media, like movies? Just say novels or movie storyboarding, whatever you can imagine here.
There is something. It combines the best of all those mediums. The thing about a movie or a book is that in order to enjoy the moment, you have to play the movie or read the book. So if something is wonderful, you have to rewind it and to experience it again, or if something, or reread it. If something is highly offensive, you have to rewind it and go, I can't believe they did that. And then you replay it. I can't believe that. And you replay it again or read it over and over and over. But you have a graphic novel and you open this page and say that page is the best thing you've ever seen in your life. You leave it on your tabletop. Every time you look at it, it immediately gives you joy. You don't have to go through an exercise to appreciate. The thing about visual art is you put it on the wall and it's happy every time you look at it, or offensive every time you look at it. You know, I can leave it on the table and it will be offensive or happy all day long. That's an incredible power. I can hold up a DVD or I can hold up this page.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just two different delivery formats, but this one is so powerful because it just doesn't. It's like capturing time in a bottle or something, and you can forever look at that panel of, you know, the feet walking in the snow.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of responsibility with the cartoonist about what image do I show you, and every image has to be carefully on purpose. I'm only showing you key scenes. It's like a storyboard. I'm only showing you the key scenes that really matter, not all the transitional stuff in a movie or connective dialogue and language in a novel. And I can move my timing different because I have the best of novels, and then I also have the speed of visual storytelling.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah, that's see, as I said in Twitter, and now the joke with at the beginning with time traveling, that's something that I saw, the time capsule you just said. There's something that makes comics completely different to me to everything else, which is the control of time and space. You can only have that in comics, be it because of the shape of the panel, be it because you decide I'm going to spend 48 pages on the same second, or just move 3,000 million years and then go back. Or, as I always put the example, you said Watchmen before. Issue 1, Laurie's in the background. We make nothing out of it. Issue 5, Laurie's in the foreground. But then we realize, oh, that's the same scene. They're at the same time. And it's 5 issues later. So I think comics is, again, sorry, that's my trope. I think comics is the only art that defies the theory of relativity because it has absolute control of time and space, and no other art can manage to do that, right?
Yeah. It's the other mediums have limitations that comics does not have. It's very, very powerful medium, and that's why very, you know, grown men who are smart enough to do something else choose comics. Because it is, we'll always have Mobius stories and things like that to challenge our brains, and you know, that they did not waste their time by making those stories. They'll be around forever.
Yes, and something that I love about my conversation with Scott McCloud a month ago is that we kept joking about the limits of comic. I kept teasing him about it, and you know, and the formalist, you know, his school ways. I love Scott, so we were joking about a lot of things, and I finally got him to recognize there's no limits in comics, and every generation that comes, you have a lot of limitations in movies. I'm not saying it's, but there is, you know, you have to tell a story in a certain way. It's gotta flow. You don't have to do that in comics. You can do it any way you want. You can go backwards, forwards. You can, you know, Eastern comics go the other way around. That they go right to left and we go left to right, and we can read them anyway, you know. And webtoons go all vertical, etc., etc. There's no limitations in comics. And the funny part, the part that I love the most, is that the creators that come every new generation, and I'm pretty sure you've noticed that these two, they come saying, wait, you tell me we can't do that? I'm gonna show you. And they break that wall. And the next generation breaks the wall. It's like Frank Miller, Howard Chaykin, Jim Starlin, and whoever else was working with them, being told in the 70s, no, that's not the way you do comics, and then saying what, and breaking it, and then the guys in the 80s, and then the guys in the 90s, is always breaking that supposed wall and finding new ways to do comics, right?
And it's wonderful because, I mean, the minute you get the new look, you realize how old-fashioned the other look was. So yeah, then I love this every new wave. Yeah. And I've been so happy to be in comics during a creative time. I think I've seen like at least 3 waves come.
Yeah.
It's been a lot. It's just been a joy.
That's what I was going to ask, is how is it for you because you've never been constrained by what the industry wants, as we said before, about what's the trend, what's the mainstream, blah, blah, blah. You've been in your own corner, being able to look, same as Scott. That's what I talked to him about this too. You're being in your own corner, being able to just sit down and look at it from an objective point of view, seeing each wave come and see how it changed comics. How has it been for you to be an observer of all that? At the same time, you're doing your creations, and in a big way, I guess, saying, oh, that's amazing, I got to use it.
There's the thing where there's part of it where you go, I've seen this before.
Yeah.
So I've seen that kind of person, that kind of thing, that kind of movement. I've seen it all before. But then there's also the new twist where somebody is doing something just wonderful. And it's an absolute joy to see, something new and fresh. So yeah, we do have cycles, and we always have these kinds of people: the strong, the weak, the creative, and so you give them that. Let them be okay. You're the descendant of the creativity people, and yes, I know you need to work that out. And I'm just going to keep an eye on you until you do something new. Whoa, there it is.
Yes.
Wow, that is so cool. And that's how it is, when you're watching other people's careers and watching, America go through its 10-year cycles, flip, flop, flip, flop, flip, flop.
Yeah, we go from the everything all is new again, and then when you think something is old and somebody, like I don't know, Raina Telgemeier or Emil Ferris or you or Scott just suddenly do something, it's like, wait a minute, that's not what I expected. This is not the old stuff that I expected to read. This is a new twist. This is a new way to tell the story. That is, in a way, breaking boundaries for me in comics. Is not thinking about, Frank Miller and Dark Knight. This is the obvious, in a way. I'm not saying anything against Frank. I love Frank. Like, I think he's changing comics in a big way. But that's the splashy thing. But in many ways, I want to know if you agree. In many things in comics, the breaking boundaries part is a lot more subtle, and you don't realize it until it's done. And you look back and it's like, oh, that happened here. And now everybody's doing it because nobody gave it the importance. It wasn't splashy. But every single creator noticed there was something there.
Yeah. And people who are looking, if you watch it and you see the cycle, it's like watching the tide, and you begin to learn when the fish are there and when they're not there. And so you get to know what to look for. And, a lot of things that are really popular now weren't that popular when they first came out.
Yeah.
So they're ahead of their time, then they have to grow into it. And when me as a creator, I want to do something, I have to think about not just did somebody in the last 5 years do it, but did somebody in 1955 do it?
Yes.
So I don't want to walk around thinking I invented something and then somebody tells me, yeah, Kurt Swan did that 65 years ago. So, you need to be aware of who came before you and what they did.
Yeah, I keep remembering. There's a new ad, a really funny ad from Apple, about the Apple Watch that keeps saying, it already does that. It's an naysayer. Okay, and when I was watching that ad, I kept remembering people talking to me about Alex Toth.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, when like, oh, this guy does this. Alex Toth already did that.
Yeah.
That guy does no. Alex Toth. You know, it was always Alex Toth did it before. I guess that's what you mean in a big way.
Yeah. Every time I come up with a time story, like, oh, people are going backwards and forwards in time, I discover Rumiko's already done it in manga. So yeah, you have to be aware. You can't think you invented it.
Yeah, but again, this is what we were saying before. It's not that much about connect.
Live streaming is on.
Sorry, as you know, YouTube does that after an hour. Blah blah blah. We're back. What we're saying, Terry, is it's not reinventing the wheel. It's how you tell the story. It's how breaking boundaries can be using the same tropes, but just saying this is not the way I want to tell my story, right?
Right. You take the wheel and flip it horizontal and build stuff on top of it.
For example.
And you know, that's what the kids do. They find a new way to use the wheel, play with the wheel, look at the wheel. They'll find sooner or later somebody's going to figure out a way to show you a 4D wheel, and it's going to blow my mind.
Yeah, I was with Fernando Felipe, an amazing Spanish creator, yesterday, who's also a visual arts cinema teacher in college, about the storytelling in movies and video games. How even the kids, and I noticed that even with my 6-year-old, they get past the artifice really quick. About 3D, nah, I don't care anymore, or the seats moving in this theater, I don't care anymore. I just want to watch the movie. And I was telling him the funny part that I'm finding with video games right now is that a lot of kids are going past the graphics. They're just saying the graphics, the AAA games, oh, they're so amazing. Like, no, I don't care. I just want to play with my friends. Among Us, Fortnite, whatever. The graphics are not that good. I don't care. I want the games that allow me to play in a more comfortable way with my peers, with my friends. I just want to be comfortable.
Right.
I don't care about how amazing the graphics are. And that also tells us a lot about human mentality, I guess, because what it's telling you is, I want my safe place. I want my comfortable place. I don't care that much about it being beautiful and void. I mean, not having any substance, but people caring more about, does it tell me a story I want to read, right?
Right. And for the kids with the video game, they mean nothing if their friends aren't there. And then for me, as a creator of these fictional worlds, I'm trying to get you to know enough about the characters to become friends with them. Yeah. So that every time you read, you're visiting with friends. And then you hope to get a letter back from a reader that says, I love hanging out with your characters.
Yes.
And that's what you hope for. When you're writing a serialized, ongoing story, you want a safe place, like Cheers, right? The bar. You want a place where people can come and sit down with Katchoo and Francine and hear how their day was, right? And that's my escape. That's the reader escape. We need it.
Yeah. How many people have you had? Well, how many? Have you had many people telling you Francine and Katchoo's story has helped them solve who they really were, and they didn't want to say in public?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, all the way back from when it was in production. Yeah, and that's very humbling.
That changes you, right, as a creator. That tells you how much you're affecting the real world.
Right. It's humbling, and it's not about me. It's about them and the story now. And it's like those characters belong as much to them as it does to me now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's my responsibility not to mess that up. I found magic. Now back off and don't mess it up. So I would never go back now and write a new story that undoes all that.
Yeah,
because it would be heartbreaking. I would be betraying the people.
Mm-hmm. that's what I was gonna say about that. It's gotta be a responsibility, but at the same time, it's gotta give you the freedom to know you did the right thing for your readers and for your characters because you never messed it up, right?
Oh, I hope not. I mean, it goes back and forth, but there's a funny thing. When you talk to actors and they'll say, "I've never watched my movies."
Yeah.
I think I I have a thing where I'm still in production mode.
Hmm.
I'm still all about the next page. So I'm not sitting back and thinking, look what I did. I can't do that because that's a retirement frame of mind.
Hmm.
And I'm not ready to sit back and look at the past. So I haven't dwelled on it. Um, I hear it and it touches my heart, and I'm so grateful. But now I'm going to work on the new page
Yeah.
and I have to stay in this. I want to stay in the magic mode where I can still do this.
Hmm.
And if I get to be too sentimental and looking back at what I've done, that's a different frame of mind that actually kills my creativity. I begin to think, oh yeah, I'm all that. No, you're not.
Yeah.
You're the guy who needs to prove himself with the next page.
Yes.
And that's how I keep working.
And that's where the responsibility kicks in, right? Like, I cannot be too comfortable with myself or too fond of myself. I need to prove I can still do that, right?
Yeah, you can't be your own fan. You can't be your biggest fan.
Absolutely.
You have to work.
One when you're working, do you work with music at all, or or whatever sound, cacophony, whatever you want to call it, or you just need silence and leave me alone? I need to be isolated from the world.
If I'm writing, I will put on some ambient sound in the background, just white noise. I don't want anything to affect my mood. Like a
Yeah.
playlist has moods and rhythms. I don't want that I don't want that changing me or my mood at the moment. So if I'm writing, I focus on the writing. If I'm drawing, I put on a playlist and just go to town. And a lot of times the playlist will be what I need out of the page.
Mhm.
If I'm trying to draw monsters, I listen to heavy metal. If I'm trying to draw something really sweet, I listen to sweet. So
Yeah, that makes sense. I talked to a lot of artists who've told me the same. They need to, for drawing, to use the music that fits that page and that moment to get
soundtrack.
more into more into it, more into the zone, to say it in a way. To get in the zone is, okay, okay, epic. Where's my Lord of the Rings soundtrack? Boom. Or romance. Okay, where's my French classic music, romance classic music? Then something like that. It's the same way for you then? You
Yeah.
get in the zone by listening to that music too?
Yeah, because say for instance, you're drawing, you know, say somebody has a weapon and they're walking across the field at you, and if you're just drawing it like you're just in default mode, just drawing how you usually draw, you'll get one kind of drawing. But if you're listening to the right soundtrack and you're thinking, oh, this is so cool, and you add details and extra lighting, and maybe you move the camera angle because you can really see it on the screen, and this is you get into it more. I
Yeah.
think it helps.
It pushes you, right?
Yeah.
In new directions, as you just said. Something that you haven't thought of since you're inspired suddenly pops up, right?
Yeah, and sometimes you're listening to music and you think, oh, that sounds like this kind of visual scene, and you're listening to music, but you don't have anything to draw. So it's the other way around. When you're drawing, and if you can get the right music playing, it's really cool.
Yeah. So, one other thing before we go with the people's questions, because either we are not ignoring you guys. Uh, when you finished Strangers in Paradise, it was conscious for you to think, I want to change genres now. I want to try something completely different. To, as we were saying, to push yourself to try and. It wasn't. I want to see if I can be able to do it, or what was the idea before?
I did want to do a different genre because I didn't want to be pigeonholed. Terry can only do that. So, it's like we there's a saying in television that if you only paint red wagons, nobody thinks you can paint a blue wagon. So I wanted to do something different just to because well, for my own reasons, but also so that the people could see, okay, I can do other stories too. I mean, I knew that I had a lot of different genre stories in my head, and I wanted the freedom to be able to do sci-fi, horror, future, whatever.
And you were talking before about your new book. Is that something new for you too, in terms of trying to push your own boundaries?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's it's definitely something that the visuals and the storytelling are things that I've implied before, but it's its own new story, its own new animal. Um, and I'm challenging myself to draw things I've never drawn before and do things new.
I want to see that.
Me
So,
too.
well, you're seeing on your desk anyway. I don't. No, joking aside, you've seen all the changes that are happening in terms of distribution with DC Comics, or the move to digital in many ways. Do you think we're risking? We're having the risk of losing printed comics, or they're always going to be there? I hope they're always going to be there. But
I think um, the public being comic book readers, not the general population, but I think comic book people like print. Um, I remember when synthesizers first came out, they said the guitar was dead, and we still have guitars.
yeah,
So I think it's just whatever medium. The point is the stories, of course, and if you live long enough, you get to get that story in a lot of different mediums. That's
yeah,
okay. That's not scary. That's progress. But just because we have a CD doesn't mean you're going to throw away your floppy comic,
yeah.
And just because you can get it on your iPhone doesn't mean you can throw away a trade paperback.
Yeah, that's the same thing that TV is going to kill. Sorry, movies are going to kill the radio. TV is going to kill movies. VHS or beta is going to kill cinema. Blah blah blah. We've always had
Mhm.
the kill, 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 and I keep saying the same thing. And not only about the comics reader, the direct market readers. I would say the experience of reading is something that you cannot match with anything digital. You can substitute it. I do it when I'm on a 12-hour, 15-hour plane from Spain to San Diego. Yeah, I am not carrying 15 trade paperbacks. I carry, my iPad.
Yeah.
But when I'm sitting down, you give me a solid, paper, and you give me an iPad, and I don't read the iPad at home at all. I read my books, because the experience, the passing the page thing, I think is something that you cannot match with digital, right?
Right, right. And there are books that are you can't find anymore, and maybe you have it on your shelf. It's not on digital. You can't Google everything,
Yes,
you know.
absolutely. Okay, let's go with everything. Okay,
Yeah.
because you keep looking around.
Well, I just saw Robin, my wife.
Hello, Robin.
She says hi.
Mwah. Just you don't have to show up. Just send the new kisses. Mwah. Me too. Anyway, let's go.
Oh, those kisses hit me right here.
Yeah. Okay, no, here on your forehead. Let's go. Anyway, let's go. Angel Perez says, "Good afternoon, everybody. Ready for the honor to listen to one of the most imaginative independent creators in the industry. Thank you for your time, Terry, and for your work. And thank you, David, for making it possible." Now, he made it possible. I just asked. So thanks to him. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Gonzalo Araya, hello, everybody. Hello, Luis P. Videos. Hello to Daniel Aloy. Good morning, and thanks for the reminder. Which reminder? Thank you, everybody. Tony Mena. Hello, David. Thanks for the channel. Thank you for watching it. Tony Mena says, "Hi, Terry. Congratulations for your work. It's amazing. You are one of my favorite comic creators."
Thank you, Tony. Thank you.
Victor Herrera Q says, "Hi, Terry. Big fan of your work. Greetings from Colombia."
Hey.
We're,
Hi.
we're international here.
Yes, we are. We're global.
Gonzalo, so we're moving in 3 different time zones already: Spain, Colombia, Yes. Okay. I want more time zones, guys. We're going to break the limits of time travel or something like that. I want quantum. Quantum. Well, anyway, let's go. Gonzalo Raya. Hi, Mr. Moore. I'm a big fan of your work. And there's been a question in my head since I finished reading Strangers in Paradise years ago. That means he has a long memory, just so you know.
Yes.
How did the end of that story, great story, came to a close? Was always intended to end that way?
Okay, spoilers. All right. Yes.
Spoilers now? It's been a long time. Okay, spoilers. If you're a new reader of Strangers in Paradise right now, cover your
Yeah.
ears.
Okay. I've said this before publicly, so I mean, it's okay. But just so you know, I started that story in the '90s, and eventually, back in the '90s, every time you had lovers, they would have to. The love stories always had a lot of. You really had to pay the price, and maybe not everybody makes it to the end.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, I hate to tell you that, but that's how it was in the '90s. So I was kind of playing with an idea that I knew that these two opposites were going to come and they were going to have cross, and then they would kind of almost change places. Francine would find her courage, and Katchoo would find her heart and forgiveness. And I wasn't quite sure if they were ever going to work it out, or if Francine would get married and then always think about Katchoo.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't sure. And then 9/11 happened. And it's 2001. And we were all so affected by it that I began to think about in the months afterwards. I was thinking about a man I'd read about who had been at Hiroshima and the bomb. He was an artist, and he survived, and he decided after seeing that terrible thing that he would spend the rest of his life only making paintings that brought people happiness and peace and joy. So this wonderful man in Japan spent the rest of his artistic career making paintings of hope and love. So after 9/11, I decided they have got to get together, and I'm going to change the tone of it and make it so that it's all about hope, and hope comes true. Oh, that still touches me.
No,
so I was a man on a mission.
That's nice. It's after something like that happens, you can take to path desperation or hope.
Yeah. And what everybody,
and I'm glad you picked hope, by the way.
we all wanted hope. Everybody wanted hope. We didn't want to think that the world was really that rotten.
Yeah, absolutely. Angel Perez says, Mr. Moore, can you tell us how the idea of 5 years came about? It's like your personal end game for the Moore verse, and what's next for your babies?
I came up with the idea to wrap them all together, not from Stephen King, who loves doing that, but from Robert Heinlein, the sci-fi writer from the 60s and 50s. Robert Heinlein he was very popular in his lifetime, and he wrote a lot of stories, and one of them is my favorite book. And he got about halfway into his career and decided this all connects.
Yes.
And he had a common character, Lazarus Long, who connected all the stories, and it all kind of interwove.
Kind of like what Asimov did with the robots and in the Empire and the Foundation, right?
Yes. And then Stephen King's Dark Tower and things like that. So I kind of realized that when I did my second series, I realized it was in the same time zone, same country, just on the other coast as Strangers in Paradise. And then I did Rachel Rising, and I realized it was in the same time on the other side of the country in the East Coast. And then I realized, there's no reason why I can't start doing this. And I just started braiding them together. And 5 years is where they really kind of come zipper up, and they get into the same rooms with each other and work together for a common cause.
Okay. The comic se habla así. Good name. His nickname means, or her nickname means, this is the way you talk about comics. Yeah, so
Okay.
Terry, you're the best when it comes to draw real in capital letters. Women, nobody can do it like Terry, not even close.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll show you this. Here's the page I drew yesterday, since we're talking about drawing. Let's see if you can see it. She wakes up in a field. Where is she? A very famous old painting.
I love it.
I love doing that.
As you were saying, the comics habla así. Yes, real women. That's an amazing page. I love it, my friend. Victor Q, what was the inspiration? Oh, a question that I probably answered a million times. What was the inspiration behind Strangers in Paradise?
The inspiration was the freedom to be have your own sexual orientation. I had a first cousin who was the sweetest guy I've ever known, and he was gay, and he grew up in the South in America, in Arkansas, where there was no tolerance. He moved to San Francisco and became one of the first early victims of AIDS. And I didn't find out for 6 months that he had passed away, and it broke my heart. He was so sweet. Every time he came to visit, he would bring pastries and stuff because he wanted to be a pastry chef. So he was my first cousin. It broke my heart. He was on my mind when I started Stranger in Paradise. I was thinking, what about the gay side of the story?
Mm-hmm.
What is it to be gay and live in this world where there's this trouble and fear and this pushback and this automatic hate and all this stuff that was going on back in the 90s and today, but it's even worse back in the 90s. So I just kind of went with that, and I started it with Katchoo, who was just a walking ball of anger. Mm-hmm. Cute as she could be, but so angry. And she has this, she's working, not trying to work all that out. And then you have Francine, who is just the very nice girl, very sweet, next door neighbor type. And then they're so different. So when she has one set of opinions, she has the other opinion. She's naive. She'll tell you the bullshit. And, that was my story. Bring it all together and then see how that would work out. Because they're so different, And then I got the idea for the Parker Girls from Elton John. I don't know if I've ever told anybody this. Elton John, back when I was a kid, I heard Yellow Brick Road. Mm-hmm. And there's a song on Yellow Brick Road called All the Young Girls Love Alice. Mm-hmm. Remember it?
Yeah.
It was about a teenager who becomes the plaything for all the rich ladies, a teenage girl. And years later, that to me was Katchoo and Darcy Parker. Katchoo was cute. She was a teenager, underaged, in Hollywood. Darcy Parker pimped her out to all the rich wives, executive wives in Beverly Hills. And so that's where that came from.
Wow, that part I didn't know.
Thank you, Sir Elton.
Lennon Gonzalez, greetings from Mexico. And yet another time zone.
Hola.
We have another time zone, 4 already. The comic services says silent panels are very common in manga. Those panels with raindrops, sakura leaves, very abstract, etc. Your mind evokes that emotion and helps the reader dive deeper into the story. Yes.
Yes, I knew it, that when I was doing Rachel Rising, when you see the characters standing there and they're looking at the falling snow, you can hear it.
Yes.
We all know what it's like to stand out there and hear and listen to the snow. And so you're getting the reader to participate. All I did was prompt you.
Yeah, that's also one of the reasons when I have choris here, and maybe this is pertinent to you too. I always ask them if they can hear the colors, and they are
I
perfect.
cannot hear colors, but I do see emotions and personalities.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But in many cases, choris, stop for like 4 seconds, 5 seconds when I ask, and suddenly they say, "I've never thought about it," but yeah. When I'm thinking about the emotion on colors, I can hear the colors. It's like hearing them, not literally like a sound, but there's something like that. And I'm not talking about synesthesia, that's a different thing. But something that for them it gives mass to the colors, if you know what I mean. It
Hmm.
makes them solid. So it's
Identity.
yeah, exactly. Something really, really fascinating to me when I talk to them about this. Angel Perez has any relation in the title 5 Years with the David Bowie song?
Yes. Yes. Uh, I've always loved that song. I think that's just the lyrics are just the greatest thing ever. What a
Absolutely.
great, great, great song.
Yeah.
And a great concept album. So I always wanted to do a 5 years, like the world has 5 years left, like before the leftovers,
Yeah.
um, I wanted to do a story where if we all thought there was only 5 years left, what would we do? And that's the David Bowie song.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of borrowed from the concept and said, here's the story behind it, and here's what my characters do about it.
Yes. There's two lyrics that I love, like always forever in my heart, which is one is that 5 years, and the other one is also by David Bowie. All the pretty things.
Hmm.
That those two are always in my head for whatever reason.
What a great
Uh,
story in that song.
Absolutely. Tony Mena says, as a full artist, do you separate the writing, drawing, and inking processes? You make first the script, and when you're finished with that, you draw, or you progress with them all at the same time?
I kind of do it all at the same time. I will outline uh, the next destination, and then I then my mind gets to work on, and the destination is figured out in a practical sense.
Hmm.
Like, okay, logically we're going to do da da da, and then I have that in front of me, and that's my outline. And then as a cartoonist, I think about, okay, they're in a car. Is it a Volkswagen, or is it going to be something brand new I just made up that has 17 wheels? You know, and does it crawl or does it speed? And then I bring my imagination. So then that's the part where you just kind of like, okay, your girl wakes up in a field. Well, why don't we let her wake up in Christina's World field, this really famous American painting?
Yes.
So that's where you kind of like double down on the idea, like, um, okay, I'm going to write a song and it has to be these three chords. What if I put these five chords in here and these nine chords in here? And now it's jazz. And I
Yes.
still have those three chords in there somewhere. But now it's, whoa.
Yeah, the concept was there, but then you made it fly. As you said, jazz. It becomes freewheeling because you're letting your concept be informed by your inspiration, right?
Yeah, I think if you write a tight script and it's very down to earth and practical, that's a three-chord song.
Yeah.
If you get over here and just turn all your imagination loose, that's jazz.
Yes. And I think comics should always, always, always be jazz, to be honest. You know, even Watchmen, when people says it's all really calculated and all that, I always tell them, that Watchmen was supposed to be 8 issues, and then
Mhm.
they had to add four more, and then they had to make it up on the run and create the stories that gapped and gave us a lot more meaning to what everything that happened. So it wasn't calculated, at all. It was that jazz that keeps changing. And I can't
Mhm.
imagine Dave Gibbons knowing Dave, and I guess Dave, just drawing for 12 features like a machine.
Mhm.
What I imagine is Dave Gibbons calling Alan every 5 seconds saying, "Why don't we do this?"
Mhm. Mhm.
And then comics is gotta be jazz. Maybe novels can be more, into quadrants in a way. First arc, not destination. But comics, I've always thought if you don't use jazz in comics, you're not making it right.
Right. When you do a novel, they always say, at least divvy it up into three sections, you know, and you think in that way. So you're always compartmentalizing, trying to tell history down in the shortest way. But with this, it's like working a TV series. What can I do to entertain you with this issue, this episode, that will surprise you, entertain you, make you laugh, make you want to come back, make you turn the page? It's and to do that, you really need to be thinking on your feet, and that's jamming. That's
Exactly.
jazz.
Exactly. Let me see, Angel Perez. Yes, that I already asked him that. If any of your characters have rebelled against you, what you wanted to do with him or her. Yes, I already asked
Yeah,
him.
they stop working. They throw a strike.
Blake Rival, he says, Strangers in Paradise is one of the only two comics I've read that made me cry. Thank you for the great storytelling. Terry, I gotta also ask, what is your favorite movie and why?
My favorite movie of all time is Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeves, where he goes back to meet the 100-year-old lady. Just because I'm a sentimental fool.
Oh, I love that movie. That's Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour, right?
Yes, it's so sweet. And I was transfixed the first time I saw it. I mean, I'm overlooking all these great films, like 1917 is the finest film ever shot ever. And I'm looking right past that at this sappy little romantic story that just touched my heart.
What's the problem? It's the question is your favorite, is not best. Is your
Right,
favorite?
right.
I
A lot
mean,
of the times, the best made films I've ever seen are movies I will never watch again.
yeah,
I am never, ever going to watch Schindler's List again, or even Private Ryan, or all those really well-made movies that are just gut you, I
yeah,
can't watch it again.
yeah. Same thing. It happens to me with a lot of Kubrick movies. To be honest, I love Kubrick. I think he was a genius. I don't think he was the best director in history at all. I agree with Orson Welles, as I always say. It's like first John Ford and then there's everybody else. But all joking aside, with Kubrick, with most of his movies, I see the perfection. I see how good they are. But then I'm like, yeah, but I have no interest in watching it again. They're so cold. That's like, yeah, I watch it, except for 2001, Paths of, the oldest and the oldest stuff, which was Paths of Glory and all that. But
if they made 2000,
The Shining, Barry Lyndon, and all those, I'm like, I don't need to watch it again.
if you made 2001 today with modern storytelling standards, it would be 20 minutes long.
Yes. If I made it 2001, to be honest, sorry, Stanley Kubrick addicts, that scene with like 15 minutes with all the colors and all that, the LSD 70s scene, I could cut it to 15 seconds because it's boring as shit. To be honest, it's long and like.
Wait. I have Stanley on the phone. He wants to talk to you. You have some explaining to do.
Blah, 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 blah. Your people and your addictions to coke. Anyway, Hel Perez. Terry, how long do we have to wait forever?
It's due in 3 weeks. And then it goes to the printer, and it's supposed to be out in November. So, and I have to tell you, I'm a little behind deadline, so I'm scared to death about it.
You'll get
a lot of stress.
You'll get there. You always do. Don't worry. I'm not worried about it. I trust you.
Thank you.
Pedro de Mercader says, hello, everyone. Hello, Pedro. I want to ask you about Rachel Rising. I found there is a nice fresh take there of the horror genre. How did you decide to approach that genre? What influences did you have? And also, how did you keep the balance between nasty moments and characterization?
I think the balance is just my personality. Like if we all took a group visit to the morgue, I would crack some jokes. That's just me. So that's how I approach all that. But I wanted to do the story because I've always liked horror movies, books, and I wanted to take my turn. But also, that's that is just around the time that America started getting kind of mean and messed up over here, and there was a lot of hate, and I'm that bothers me as a sensitive person. So it's like I felt like the kid who watches his parents fight and then he goes to his room and draws a crayon drawing. So I would come to my drawing board, and my therapy session was all about venting and getting this out. So I came up with the character Lilith, who has utter contempt for all of humankind, and then Rachel, has a different, totally opposite point of view. And then instead of having the scary old guy be the serial killer in town, the most dangerous person in town is a 10-year-old girl. And that comes to the part where we're taking the wheel, the tropes, and flipping them, And I just I enjoy doing that. Once I get everything miscast, like I have the wrong people playing the roles, then I get more interested. I'm a lot more interested in a 10-year-old serial killer than Jason and Halloween, It just kind of freshens it up for me. And so I had a lot to make me want to draw the next page. I wanted to see what happened.
Okay. Daniela Loy says, I've been sharing Paradise Tool with my granddaughter and a lady friend who's an artist.
Thank you.
Blake Rival asks you, do you own any favorite original art from another artist?
Yes, I do. I have a number of things hanging up on the hallway wall, and just right here is a guest bedroom where there's a lot of different art up.
Uh-huh. You didn't ask which one, so
I'm not telling you.
Yep, you gotta ask. I'm sorry. Tony Mena, do you plan to color some of your comics, old or new? And do not misunderstand me. I'm totally fine with the black and white. It's awesome as it is. I'm just curious if you ever had that idea.
I won't personally do it because it costs a lot of money. But if somebody purchases the catalog, they may want to reissue them. I feel like a Hergé with Tintin. I'm working in black and white, and it's going to have to be Castleman who buys the catalog and colors it and reissues it, because I can't afford it.
Okay. Daniel, Terry, has there been any progress or any of your series of your books making it to the small or larger screen? Any hopes to? So many hopes I had over the years to see, SIP, Echo, Rachel on the small or big screen.
Me too. I hope it happens in my lifetime. I feel like it has a really good chance. Everybody's interested, and I have people interested in every book, and they're in various stages of options. And the people that are interested are really good. They're network heads and things like that. So it's not like I'm ignored. It just takes a long time for them to put it together. It's a lot. There's a big machine that has to kick in, and it has nothing to do with me. But all I can say is I definitely have really good supporters in Hollywood, and they're trying very hard.
Hope so.
Yes, fingers crossed.
Yes, exactly. Jafar, hello. Thank you for the interview. I love your work, Terry. Greetings from Nicaragua.
Oh, hi. Thank you.
We keep going international here. Hello, Jaffa. How are you? Hope you're doing well. La Berenjena Atómica says, Somewhere in Time is based on a Richard Matheson novel. Cool novel and movie. I haven't read that novel. I have read Richard Matheson, but not that one.
The movie. I like the movie better than the novel. They're very faithful. It's very faithful to the novel. The only thing I don't like about it is that it works on the old World War II premise of let's pretend. It's not in Einstein's world. Let's pretend we can just wish real hard and get back in time. Whereas me, when I had to write a time story like in Gen 13, I came up with a really good Einstein reason, and it all had to do with atomic decay. And if you could change your decay factor, you could, you would go to where you belong.
Yep.
So I like to have a reason. Like there is no reason whatsoever why Superman can fly. That's World War II logic, is just because he comes from a yellow sun. That doesn't make any sense.
Red sun.
He comes from a red sun, and we have a yellow sun.
Yes.
So, I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
No, it's the before. That's before Heinlein, Asimov, Clark. Before what they call hard sci-fi started. That's like when science fiction was fantasy fiction in a way. Burroughs and all those guys were just making shit up.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right about Heinlein. He and his wife were both mathematicians, and when he proposed something in the story, they would sit down at the table with pencils and calculators and work the math out. Yeah. So if he said something, it was right. So that did change sci-fi. You're very right to say that. That did change sci-fi, and I like an Einstein's universe. That's why in Echo, I went to all the trouble to explain how this is possible. I had it's science fiction. It's total bullshit, but at least I based it on, something.
Yeah, as I remember when I watching Interstellar, whatever it's pronounced, I bought the books, the Science of Interstellar, because Kip Thorne, the Nobel Award winner, was there. It was his original idea, and then he was helping on the script, and he was saying on the book, everything you see is either science, and if it's speculative, it's something that it's inside the parameters of science.
Yeah,
it's not something that we say, well, let's make shit up. No, it's gotta be something that fits what we know now. It could be denied in the future, but it's gotta fit what we know, and that's what C. Clarke did with Kubrick when they were making 2001. Mostly, I don't know if you read there's an amazing book that almost nobody has read that is called The Lost Worlds of 2001, where
I have not read it.
It's amazing. It's Clarke spending his conversations with Kubrick, and all the time he spent alone because Kubrick didn't answer, just making up the science and all that. And the book is mostly saying, my role was to tell Stanley, no, that's not science. It doesn't work.
Right.
We gotta do it. Everything has to look like it's real. And the biggest problem they found, if you know, is if you watch the movie, you will see the moon doesn't look like the moon because nobody fucking knew how the moon looked when they were doing the movie. And people thought you could also step on the moon and go below the surface because they didn't know how thick it was.
Right.
But when you see the moon on the movie, people are like, oh, it doesn't look right. They did it wrong. And I keep saying, when they were shooting the moon, there was no images. Nobody knew how the moon looked.
Right.
Until 2 years later.
Right.
So it's got to be all science. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. What were you saying?
I had the same problem with the series Ever. I mean, Killing Eve.
Yeah.
At the end of the first season, she gets stabbed and walks out in the street. And I'm thinking, she's dead. There should be no season 2. Because if you stab somebody in the stomach like that, you have less than 6 minutes to live. And that happens, and they're doing that scene in Paris. And in Paris, we remember from Princess Diana that they don't grab you and take you to the emergency room. They work on you in the street until they have you stabilized. You could be in the street for an hour and a half with the medical team. They stabilize you. And then, they're not going to be able to stabilize a stab wound to your artery in the street. She's going to go out on the street and bleed to death before the ambulance even gets there.
Yes.
There's no way to survive being stabbed in the stomach in Paris if you're in the street. Yes. And I thought, they lost me. I haven't even watched season 2 because it's over.
And we go back to John Ford, who used the shooting you in the stomach thing as it's a slow and painful death.
Oh. Oh. Whoa. Now we have a death scene.
Yes, absolutely. Tony Mena says, who the fuck is calling me out? Tony Mena says, having Rachel, Motor Girl, Echo, so many great stories. It seems that you always go back to Strangers in Paradise. Is it so successful that you cannot avoid to keep it going on and on?
It's not. I don't think of it as successful. I think of it as just my my roots.
Mm-hmm.
Katchoo and Francine are just in me. They're in here somewhere. In here. I'll never lose them.
Mm-hmm.
So my job now is to treat them with respect. You know, I'm not going to do a new story where I mess them all up or change their world or anything right now, because they worked really hard to get where they are.
Mm-hmm.
They're my Snoopy Charlie Brown, is what it is. They're my Peanuts.
Yeah.
So you don't mess with Peanuts.
Nope. You don't mess with Peanuts or with Calvin and Hobbes. I always say the same thing.
Right.
Those are the untouchables.
But as the creator, I have the right to get them to have cameos. So here they are. Here they are.
Well, you can show them here and there. You want to stay in touch with them, right?
Yeah. If you want to see them again, you have to go through me.
Yeah. There you go. That's Have you ever thought about adapting any kind of prose novel or set? We're talking about science fiction. Have you ever thought about adapting one book that you ever loved, science fiction or anything else? I keep saying science fiction because that's what we are talking about. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever toyed with the idea, or do you prefer to stay in the, I'll stay, toying with my own creations?
No, I do think about writing novels, because the drawing takes forever.
Yes.
I can write something in one day that takes me a month to draw. So the drawing is the problem. I mean, it's a gift and it's a blessing and it's great when it's done, but it takes it out of your ass. And I've spent my whole life at this drawing table now. So at some point, my eyes give out, my hands give out, my legs fall asleep. I think about, novelists, they tend to work half a day and then take the rest of the day off. Yeah. They all have the same story. I get up at 5, I get some coffee, I answer my email, then I write till 1, then I go to lunch, and then I take a nap, and then I go out to dinner with my friends. They all have the same routine. I wish I could do that. You know what my routine is? I get up at 9 in the morning, and I'm at the drawing table by 10, and I stay there till 2 in the morning. So that's how it is with comic artists. You just have to draw nonstop in order to make your deadlines.
Yep.
I have this deadline in October. I don't know how I'm going to make it, so I've just got to live here at the drawing table.
Yeah. It's not a bohemian life, guys. If you think that comics is that, you got to work your ass off. And if you want to get into comics now, there's some young people here. Every single free moment you have in school or anything like that, draw, write. Don't stop, because if you don't use all your time, you won't get there.
Right. I draw 9 to 15 hours a day. If you draw an hour and a half a day, it's not the same. It's going to be hard for you to suddenly get a job and be on a deadline and be required to work like that. So you have to be kind of obsessive to want to do it.
Yeah. I think that's a big part of being an artist in any form, but especially in comics, because of how much work and hours it requires. You gotta be pretty obsessive about it, or you just quit, right?
Yeah. If you're looking for a well-balanced life, this isn't it.
Yes.
There are healthier things to do.
Yes, but the question I was asking before about it was about not only if you would write a novel, but if you would choose any literary work that you love in science fiction or anything else, and say, I want to adapt that novel into a comic.
Oh.
Have you ever thought about that, or it's not something you're interested on?
Yeah, I have thought about that, because there are things out there that are available, that are classics, and sometimes an interpretation of a classic can be a really great thing.
Yes.
Let's see, where is it? 1 second.
Yeah, we have time. We're fine.
Here's one. Here's one from an Italian artist. And this is The Wizard of Oz.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the first time I've ever seen, gosh. There's the Tin Man and Scarecrow.
Wow.
I know.
I love that.
I know.
You gotta tell me what that book is so I can buy it.
Okay. I'm sure it's available. I got it at Lucca when I was in Lucca.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to show you something in particular.
Wow.
Okay, let me find the witch. That's the one that's just like, okay. Oh, and the monkeys, the flying monkeys. It's the first time I've ever seen a flying monkey that actually scared me. Oh my God. Look at the witch.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible?
It is. Absolutely is.
Aren't we all glad that he adapted this classic story? Thank you so much for doing this. Oh my God. Okay, here you go. The flying monkey. Now I'm afraid.
Whoa.
That is
Okay.
not the funny monkey in the movie.
Nope. That's
Nope. I don't want anywhere near this monkey.
no, neither do I.
Okay, this is, he's very popular in Italy. I'm looking for the name.
Mm-hmm.
Where's his name? Where's his name? I mean, like, this is a limited edition. His name is not on the cover. There's the tornado.
Yeah.
The House on the Witch. Okay, we got to find this man's name. I met him, and his signature is unreadable. Oh, Gabriel de Otto.
Ah, Gabriel Del Otto. Yeah, of course. He's worked for Marvel a lot.
This is Gabriel del Otto.
Gabriel Del Otto is, yeah, it's really famous. He had, as I said, he has worked for Marvel a lot. He did Secret War and all that. I didn't know he had done an adaptation of The Wizard of Oz. Okay, I'm gonna get that book.
Yeah. This
Wow.
is a Luca special. It's signed and numbered and all that.
So I think that not going to get that edition, but something.
Anyway.
The important thing is the inside.
The cool thing is, there's the Cowardly Lion. The cool thing is that I am so glad Del Otto decided to say, would you ever adapt an old story? Thank you. Thank you. What a blessing. I can't read it. It's in Italian, but I bought it immediately.
Yes. So that seeing that pushed you to think about doing it yourself too?
Not that story, maybe, but
No. I
something.
mean,
Yeah.
adapting, I don't know, Starship Troopers. No, I'm kidding.
That should be copyright free. Yeah.
No, but I mean, that kind of thing, science fiction from the, as I call them, the break in time when it moved from fantasy fiction to science fiction. That's where I started loving it. When those guys, Bradbury, Clark, Asimov, Heinlein, and all those said, wait a minute, it's fine that it's fantasy, but it's got to be based on science.
Yeah.
Is that the period that interests you the most in terms of science fiction too?
Yeah. That's when I started reading. And then the stuff ahead of that is just Peter Pan to me.
Yes. Okay.
But,
yeah. Okay. Now you got to adapt Foundation.
Yeah.
Which just has a short story, as you know. Okay, let's go. Tony Mena says, how many people, you're going to laugh. How many people do you have working with you to publish your own comics? Self-publishing takes much of your own time?
It looks like it's just me, but I guess if you count, well, you mean including all the factories I have in China? Millions. No, it's actually just me and my wife, and it's always been that way.
Yeah.
But then when we have two guys here in town, Mike and Fernando, who help us with serious warehousing and when we go out on the road. So there's four of us.
Hmm.
And then I have a colorist who Steve Hamaker, who does my covers. So that's five. And then I have liaisons at Diamond, the printers, Comixology, and then we have a webmaster who helps us when we kill the internet. So we have a support team, you know.
Yeah, but
Um,
it's you and Robin. Let's be honest. It's just
yeah,
two
it's Robin and I in the office, and yeah,
guys. So yes, I don't think
Ma
he
and
needs
Pa
to
Kettle here.
I don't think he needs to answer that part about does self-publishing take much of your time.
It's a lifestyle.
Yes.
It's what you do every day, all day.
Let's say it that way. It's not a curse, it's just lifestyle. Okay.
It's a lifestyle. It's not a job.
Okay. Blake Rival, what surprising things have you learned about inking over the years?
It's very challenging, and a lot of times I wished I had not inked it. I wished I'd left it as pencils because it had more warmth. Um, so inking to me is where you make something kind of slick or more dynamic. Pencil is more organic.
Hmm.
So it's organic pencil versus dynamic inks. And there are a lot of challenges. And the challenges are not the big things, the challenges are the small things.
Hmm.
Like, because I have no color, how do I show this field? Do I have to draw every blade of grass? Because I can't do it with tones of green and all that. So
Yeah.
how do you ink that and show where the part where they cut and mowed the lawn?
Yeah, how you show the depth and the
Yeah,
density and all that. Yeah.
it's the little things that drive you crazy, you know. Um, it really hardens up the eyes. There's a lot of times you can get a lot of great expression and nuances with pencil, but when you go in for the eyes with the ink is just seems more severe.
Yes.
So you lose some softness. So I'm always trying to keep whatever I can that made the eye a good one without making it look like a Patrick Nagel fashion drawing or something, you know.
Yeah.
There's an eyebrow. So
Have you ever thought about leaving the eyes, some other parts of the faces uninked because they look more alive if you don't ink it?
yeah, I've tried to play with both on the same, and it's too stark for me because I don't pencil hard enough.
Yes.
So what I've done is a lot of times, like especially on covers, I will just leave it as a pencil.
Hmm.
And I've stopped scanning my inks in bitmap. Now I scan them as color, very high res color, and then turn them to grayscale. And now I can really get everything. So I don't lose the little stuff.
Do you do a lot of correcting in the computer or just scan and that's go?
It's pretty minimal. I go in there and then if my word balloon lines are out of whack, you know, not balanced, I may balance the sentences inside a word balloon, get them to be centered. If there's little tails sticking out from somewhere that aren't supposed to be there, I can go in there with my little Wacom pen and
Mhm.
fix that. But I don't actually draw much on it.
Mhm.
I don't have a Cintiq or anything. I'm still using this just old Wacom tablet from 1954. So very minimal.
No, that's what I wasn't asking about drawing. I was asking about how much do you correct, before you go to print. So this is a perfect
Minimal.
answer. It's almost 2 hours, and it's almost lunchtime for you, so I gotta let you leave. But last question before, if you're okay with that,
Yeah.
what is the thing that it's been nagging you for ages to do, that you want to do it. Like, I'm not going to retire or die or whatever you want to call it, because I know I don't see you ever retiring, to be honest. But what's
No.
the thing that you say, before I leave this world, I have to tell this story? But it's always been there. You haven't been able to do it yet, but it's like I am not gonna stop until I do it. Is there anything in particular that's been nagging you forever?
Yeah, I feel like I feel like I haven't done my best work yet. I really feel like I haven't, that everything I've done will is preparing me for what I can do. The reason I did Strangers in Paradise and all those other books has just trained me for something, and I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's story driven, and I want it to be the best thing I've ever done, and I want it to, it's my legacy piece. Like right now, my legacy story is Strangers in Paradise, but that was a long time ago,
Hmm.
and I have learned so much, and I feel like I can make something now that is can be much more memorable, and more relevant from here on.
Hmm.
The problem is that with the industry support falling away, it's very difficult to have a commercial success that would allow you to continue working on something
Hmm.
because it's popular and doing well and supporting you. So there's a practical problem that I have to get past. But because I know that whatever it is I'm trying to finish, like The Sopranos.
Live streaming is on.
You were saying you were preparing for that story, sorry.
I was prepared. I want a chance to do that story that I feel is still in me.
I love it that, because we go back to what you said about, we were said before about the journey and the destination. I love that you just said, I don't know what the story is going to be, but it's there. You know it's there, but you don't know what it's going to be. I love it because we go back again to, and we go back to science. The what I love, which is the uncertainty principle.
Yes,
And
I
it
I feel
makes
like
it funnier, right?
I feel like I'm still at the base of the mountain. I really still want to get up to the mountaintop, and I don't quite think. I think the books that I've done have gotten me up to base camps on the mountain, and I have not hit the summit. And I really, really, really want to get up there and do something that is just like I poured everything into it, and I created something I didn't have yesterday, and it's blessed my entire life now. And
So,
that's what I want.
so in a way, you wanted to get to the top of the Everest without oxygen bottles.
Yes. And take a deep breath.
There you go. Okay, sir. So let's leave it here because again, it's time. Sorry, guys. We just wanted to go back after YouTube cut us again to say proper goodbye. Please don't cut Terry because I want to say proper goodbye to you after I let the cut. I cut the live feed. I need water. To all of you, thank you so much for being here. See you all tomorrow. Thank you so much, Terry, for being here.
My pleasure.
To all of you, tomorrow with us, mañana con nosotros, Mr. El Señor Humberto Ramos. Take care. Be good. Don't be assholes. Wear your fucking mask. And see you tomorrow. Nos vemos mañana a la misma hora. Bye bye. Out in 4, 3, 2, 1.